CEO Alex's sister came all the way to Tuna's place to apologize, an act that Tuna herself never expected. The woman who once looked at her with disdain, who had spoken words that made her cry through a stormy night, was now standing silently in front of her small house, holding a bag of fruit and wearing an expression full of remorse. Gone was the usual arrogance. Today, Alex's sister appeared simple, sincere, and strangely fragile. Tuna stood there silent. A warm current seemed to flow through her heart, yet it wasn't enough to extinguish the flames of doubt that had been burning steadily through the passing days. Will Tuna agree to return to the farm with CEO Alex? What will CEO Alex do to bring Tuna and their child back home? Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next dramatic emotional chapters in the story between the cold-hearted CEO Alex and the strong single mother Tuna. Will love be strong enough to help them overcome the pain and reunite? Or is fate not yet finished testing them? After many days of relentless searching, CEO Alex finally received a call from the police. On the other end of the line, a calm voice spoke. "We've located Ms. Tuna and the child. She's currently staying in a quiet countryside in the south. We'll send you the exact address and coordinates shortly." Alex held his breath for a few seconds. He stood frozen in the middle of his office phone, clutched tightly in hand, heart pounding like it was about to leap from his chest. It was the news he had been longing for, day and night, the confirmation that she was safe. He immediately called his sister, who had been by his side through the chaos after Tuna's sudden disappearance. When she heard that Tuna and the baby had been found, Alex's sister burst into tears. She could hardly believe her ears. The guilt that had lingered in her heart all this time seemed to ease just a little. A gentle smile formed on her lips as she whispered, "Finally, finally she's safe." I truly want to see Tuna again, to apologize for the things I said to her back at the ranch. That afternoon, Alex's sister dressed simply. No makeup, no jewelry. She carried only a small bag and a determined gaze. Following the location Alex sent her, she traveled to the rural area where Tuna was staying, a peaceful place with green rice fields, birdsong, and dusty red dirt roads. When the car stopped at a small alley, she got out and looked around. Then, in the distance, beyond a bamboo fence and under the shade of trees, she saw a familiar figure. Long flowing hair, a simple sweater. There was no mistaking it. It was Tuna. Alex's sister quickened her pace, her heart pounding. She called out, "Tuna." Tuna turned around in surprise, her eyes wide, lips parting slightly, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. You came here." Alex's sister nodded. There were no lengthy explanations, no arrogant demeanor like before, only a silent presence and sincerity. Tuna invited her inside. It was a small wooden house with an old tin roof, modest, but neat and clean. Upon entering, Alex's sister was greeted by the warm eyes of an elderly woman making tea at a rustic wooden table. "Sis, let me introduce you. This is Grandma Tang. She's the one who has helped me and my child all this time. If not for her, I don't know where life would have taken us." Grandma Tang turned and nodded, smiling gently. "Hello, miss. Don't worry. The mother and child have been doing well here. Tuna is a strong and respectful young woman." The simple but cozy home made Alex's sister's heart soften. She sat down beside Tuna, hands resting lightly on her knees, eyes slowly lowering. I truly came to apologize to you, she said, voice trembling. The things I said back at the ranch, they were harsh and hurt you more than I realized. I've been tormented by guilt ever since. I kept thinking, if I had just stayed silent that day, if I had tried to understand you more, maybe you wouldn't have left like that. Tuna lowered her gaze to the steaming cup of tea. A moment of silence passed. Then she looked up and smiled gently. That is all in the past now. I don't hold it against you, sis. Back then, I knew you were worried about Alex, about your family's reputation. I understand. Honestly, I was more upset with myself for not being brave enough to face everything. Her words felt like a soft breeze dispelling the dark clouds within Alex's sister. Her tears fell, not from pain, but from the relief of being forgiven. A heavy burden in her heart had finally lifted. After a while, Alex's sister stood up, turning respectfully to Grandma Tang. Thank you so much for taking care of Tuna and her child during all this time. Grandma Tang simply smiled and said nothing. Tuna stood beside her, gently nodding, eyes glimmering with something that looked like peace. As she left the house, Alex's sister looked back one last time. She saw Tuna standing next to the child, softly running her hand through his hair, a tender smile gracing her face. The sight etched itself into her memory, and in that moment, she silently vowed, I will help Alex bring you back, not out of duty, but because you truly deserve love and respect. One fresh early morning after finalizing a major contract with a central business partner, CEO Alex drove back along the familiar road leading to the peaceful countryside. As he passed by the small wooden house where Tuna had been living with her child and Mrs. Tang, his heart suddenly beat faster. He didn't know why, but his feet seemed to move on their own, stopping right in front of that familiar gate. He turned off the engine and stepped out of the car. The bamboo gate, rustic and simple, was still just as he remembered it, plain yet full of warmth. In front of the porch, sunlight filtered gently through the leaves, casting a soft glow over a scene he could never forget. Tuna, holding her baby, sitting beside Mrs. Tang. Two women of two generations, quietly watching the peaceful morning unfold. Alex took a deep breath and stepped into the yard. When Tuna looked up and saw him, her eyes showed a hint of surprise, but then settled into calmness, as if she had already expected this moment to come. He walked closer and greeted Mrs. Tang politely. Good morning, Mrs. Tang. Hello, Tuna. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Mrs. Tang nodded and smiled. Tuna simply responded with her eyes still gently cradling the sleepy baby in her arms. Alex sat down on the bamboo chair beside them, trying to keep his voice steady and gentle. I just wanted to talk for a bit. Nothing serious. The air in the yard was filled with the scent of fresh grass and morning sunlight. Alex began to speak about the days since Tuna had left and how worried everyone had been. Mom's been so sad. She just sits by the window all day, waiting for you and the baby to come back. My sister, the one you always thought was the coldest, she came and apologized to you. Remember, and Johnny, he kept blaming me for not keeping you with us. Everyone misses you, Tuna. Everyone loves you. Tuna said nothing, her eyes drifting to the baby in her lap. After a while, she looked up slowly and asked, Did you come here to take us back? Alex nodded, his eyes full of hope. Yes, I want you and the baby to come back to the farm, back to the home that I believe, and I truly believe, is the best place for both of you. I know I've hurt you, but I've changed, and everyone has come to understand how much you mean to our family." A long silence fell. Tuna held the baby close, her eyes fixed on the bamboo grove outside. She didn't respond immediately, but the struggle on her face was clear. She had spent so many lonely days, forced to rise again after emotional wounds. Now she stood at a crossroads. Should she return or remain where she was? Then Mrs. Tang gently put her teacup down and reached for Tuna's hand. "My dear, I'm old. I can't keep you here by my side forever. But I can see this young man. He truly loves you and the baby. I've seen how he's changed, and I believe that going back with him is the right choice." Mrs. Tang's words felt like a string tugging at Tuna's heart, pulling her back to memories of the farm. The quiet afternoon sunlight, her baby's laughter in Alex's arms, the warmth of genuine love she had once felt. After a long pause, Tuna took a deep breath and looked at Alex. "All right, I agree. I'll come back with you with our child." Those words made Alex want to jump out of his seat. Joy filled his eyes, and he kept repeating, "Thank you." He couldn't help but grasp her hand, even if just for a moment, but it was enough to let her feel his sincerity. Without hesitation, Alex rolled up his sleeves and began helping pack Tuna's belongings. Tuna, meanwhile, stayed beside Mrs. Tang. She held the elderly woman's hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Grandma, once we leave, I worry about you being here alone. Please take care of yourself. Don't work in the garden too much anymore." Mrs. Tang smiled gently, brushing Tuna's hair like a true mother. "Silly girl. Whenever I miss you, I'll take the bus to visit you and the baby at the farm. That farm. It's such a joyful place. Now that my grandchild is there, I have even more reason to go." The two of them embraced tightly, as if soaking in every last moment of warmth from each other. Before getting into the car, Tuna turned to Mrs. Tang and whispered, "Please send my thanks to Uncle Adam. Without him, the baby and I wouldn't have made it through those difficult days." Mrs. Tang nodded. "I will. Adam is a good man, but don't ever forget you're someone who deserves kindness too." The car slowly rolled away from the small alley. Through the rearview mirror, Tuna saw Mrs. Tang standing silently on the porch, waving gently, her eyes following them until the vehicle disappeared from sight. And so, after countless hardships, misunderstandings, and silent tears, at last CEO Alex had convinced Tuna to return to the farm with him. No longer out of obligation or pressure, but from a place of healing and choice, a renewed journey of two people who had once been broken, now choosing to love again.
Hai người ôm nhau thật chặt, người cảm nhận được hơi ấm của người thân đang bao bọc. Trước khi lên xe, Tuna quay lại nhìn bà thì thầm, và nhớ lời lời cảm ơn của con tới chú Adam. Thì Adam, mẹ con vừa được qua quãng thời gian khó khăn nhất. Bà ta gật đầu. Bà sẽ nói Adam là người tốt, nhưng con cũng là người xứng đáng được giúp đỡ. Đừng bao giờ quên điều đó. Chiếc xe từ từ lăn bánh rời khỏi con ngõ nhỏ. Qua gương chiếu hậu, Tuna thấy bà ta đứng nặng bên hiên nhà, tay vẫn nhẹ, mắt cô dõi theo cho đến khi chiếc xe khuất bóng. Và thế là sau bao nhiêu cố gắng, bao nhiêu rượu nằm, bao nhiêu nước mắt rơi, cuối cùng kéo nét đã thuyết phục Tuna quay về trang trại cùng mình. Không là sự ép buộc hay trách nhiệm, mà là sự đồng hành của hai con người. Đừng làm tổn thương ngay yêu thương một lần nữa.